making some good money. I get it into my head that earning a helicopter pilot's license might somehow fill a hole in my life. I know why you're laughing. I should have been plugging this hole right here in my head. I took hours and hours and hours of lessons from a man named Frank Hudson, a veteran of the Korean War, who knew more about flying than birds do. And the day of my solo flight had finally arrived. I was psyched. Imagine me psyched. Yeah! I couldn't wait to get him out of my chopper. But as a warm-up, Frank decides we have to take a trial run. One last time, to exactly the way I'm going to do it by myself. And it's on one of those clear, crisp afternoons when anything is possible. A beautiful day. Wonderful day. Like that May day in the Sixers playoff. Wonderful. We're at Wilmington International Airport. Following Frank, sitting right next to me in the co-pilot seat's instructions, I lift that helicopter off the helicopter pad to about 3-4 foot altitude. And then I head toward the setting sun in a westward direction, toward a little mountain ridge, which is only about 10 miles away. And I made my turn, and I came back. And about 5 miles from the airport, you're to radio the control tower for permission to land. Because flying's not like driving. You don't just drop into the first open parking spot you find and bump someone out of the way. So I land this baby. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I was good. I put this thing down perfectly on the helicopter pad, like as soft as a baby's breath. I'm telling you, I was good. I was ready. So Frank hits me on the arm. I remember this today. Gives me a thumbs up of encouragement and ducks away. Closes the door to watch his pupil fly a helicopter all by himself for the very first time. Yeah! Let's go! Woohoo! I was scared. No co-pilot for the very first time. I was a burn. I got really weak in the wings. The sweat started crawling down the back of my neck. And for the very first time in my life, a moment of sanity stung me like a wasp. What are you doing here? Who are you trying to oppress now? I'm telling you, I am sweating. And I'm thinking, positive thoughts, Pat. You worked hard at this. So I lift that helicopter off that helicopter pad to about that 3-4 foot altitude. And without the 180 pounds of co-pilot for the very first time, the helicopter lifts to one side. And I had to make corrections swiftly, but very gently and carefully. Because the helicopter has to be flown with both your hands and both your feet. And this hand not only does your altitude, but the throttle with subtle pressures. No movements, because any sharp sun movement will cause something you'd really rather avoid. Well, I level her off. And then I head westward toward that mountain ridge. And I make my turn about 10 miles away. And all of my misgivings all of a sudden began to evaporate. Maybe I was a natural at this. Yeah, me and Charles Lindbergh, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. And just during this time of cockiness, I looked down. And directly below me is a series of high-power electrical lines. Now, I know, I hear, oh no. I got to be one of the most positive people you'll ever meet in your entire life. But for some reason, as we all do, I allowed a negative thought to enter into my gray matter. I don't know why. You know, when you're calling on someone, you're trying to upsell someone, and you just think they're not going to take it, or they're not going to buy it, or you can't do it, and it already is a self-fulfilling prophecy. For some reason, I don't know why, I looked down at those electrical lines, and I thought, what would be the result of a mechanical failure right now? Now the sweat's coming down the side of my head, and the inside of the chopper stinks. It reeks with the smell of my fear. It's permeating every cell in my body. It's just like, get it together, Pat. Positive thoughts. Come on. You did well. You did well. And then I see what I believe to be the landmark for the 5-mile radius around the airport's runways in the distance. So I radio the control tower. Wilmington Tower, this is helicopter 53 Papa Charlie. Wilmington Tower acknowledges. And I said, 5 miles to the west, 600 feet, and requesting permission to land. Roger that, helicopter 5-3, Papa Charlie. Keep coming. Notify us when you're 1 mile out. Roger. Cocky. I'm ready. I look down, and I see more of those deep fried power lines. And I see some cars, and I see a yellow school bus discharging kids on their way home from school. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there was not even a street in view when we took the trial run. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, this is not good. And then, what I believe to be the airport's runways when I was at that 5-mile landmark is instead a huge Kmart parking lot. I was lost. I was lost in space. I misplaced an entire airport. Frantically, I'm telling you, frantically, I'm looking on the ground for a familiar landmark to get me home. I'm looking inside the cockpit for a towel to wipe the sweat out of my face. And frantically, I'm looking outside for air traffic because I'm in a controlled airport zone now, and I don't want to end up as roadkill on the windshield of a Boeing 747. I didn't know what to do. My hands and feet are working automatically. My brain is yelling, "You do not pull into a gas station, ask for directions." I really didn't know what to do. And then, thank goodness, Wilmington Tower says, "Helicopter 5-3, Papa Charlie, where are you?" Very humbly, I'm telling you, very humbly, I said, "Wilmington Tower, I'm a student pilot and I've flown off course." I could just imagine their expression. There's another one. And if I wasn't so scared, I would ask, "You need anything at Kmart?" There's a blue light special going on here. Well, they turned on the blue light, which was about 2.5 miles at 10 o'clock, calling me home. I brought that helicopter back, put her on the helicopter pad perfectly, sat there, turned off the dials and switches, and I am drenched in sweat. It looked like I just completed a triathlon, the swimming portion. I was soaked. And here comes Frank Hudson, ready to congratulate his pupil on the completion of his first solo flight. But what Frank should have done is what my dad would have done. Yeah! He would have boxed my ears in for not listening. I've been taught at a really early age that an opportunity sometimes knocks very softly. Well, that horrible helicopter flight was a sledgehammer of a reminder that an opportunity can turn into a nightmare when you don't listen intently. Listen, listen, listen. But most